I almost guarantee you've heard or seen these commercials.
Now, during Crazy Eddie's greatest stereo sale ever, Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane. Ladies, gentlemen, and reindeer, it's a Crazy Eddie Christmas blowout blitz. We will not be undersold. We cannot be undersold, and we mean it. It's a Crazy Eddie portable blowout blitz. Get anything and everything that's portable on sale right now.
I'm Jack Allweil. I didn't think I'd be doing this episode, but I'm discussing the insane real life story of Crazy Eddie in the book by Gary Weiss, Retail Gangster. There's a lot of fraud in this book. I think it's important that you at least know some people are out there that do these types of things so you can ask the questions to yourself before you lend someone money that you've worked hard for. So Crazy Eddie's were a set of electronic stores that eventually would go public in an IPO. But when they were private, one thing they started doing was not paying their sales tax. So oftentimes the wholesalers would charge the retailers about 60% of the retail price. And by not paying the sales tax, Eddie's was able to undercut a lot of the competition, pocket the sales tax. And the author paints a funny picture that some of this fraud is their competitive advantage. Like, well, yeah, it's easy if you don't pay what you're supposed to be paying in taxes. Another crazy fraud they were committing was insurance fraud, like claim fraud. Tired of stocks crashing and inflation eating your savings? Build real wealth with hard assets you can actually see, feel, and understand. You know I love hard assets that stand the test of time. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Parcels of Plenty. Parcels of Plenty offers affordable Arizona land primarily in Apache County that is great for the future homesteader, adventure seeker, or one who wants to save their hard-earned wealth in something they can touch. Starting with a low down payment, clear terms, fast recording, and a 90-day money-back guarantee, there's really no better way to invest in yourself and your legacy. Can you imagine only paying $7 per year in property taxes for an acre of land? Those are the types of Parcels of Plenty has. Talk about dirt cheap holding costs to preserve your wealth over time. No middlemen, no surprises, just transparent deals. Head to parcelsofplenty.com, find your parcel, send a message, and start building your hard asset portfolio now. Don't wait. Land is the ultimate hedge. They talk about one of the certainties of these factories is that pipes will burst and you'll have water damage. So what they did with some of the product that wasn't moving, it could be from any of the stores, but if one store had a pipe that burst, there's water damage, they would take the products from the other stores that weren't moving and bring them to the store with the water damage. And this insurance was covering these products at their retail price, not just like what they bought them at, not the wholesale price. So they were able to move product that wasn't moving for a very good price through the insurance companies having to pay out these water damaged products. And apparently the insurance companies were not communicating some of these big, now I don't know how big these claims were all the time, but or what threshold the insurance companies would communicate with each other if there was some sort of like big web of fraud. But you can see that some insurance rates are higher than what they should be because people commit fraud like this. So they were just rotating insurance companies and committing fraud in this manner. Now, I feel like they didn't really get into the big leagues of fraud until Eddie put his cousin Sammy through school to become a CPA. And one of the ideas that Sammy brought to Eddie and the company was, why are we like skimming like a few $1,000,000 when you could just show the actual numbers and take the company public? You'll get a multiple of, the earnings basically. And he brought up that the analysts at the time were looking for between 15 and 20 million in sales, greater than $1 million in net income, and then annual growth is the word, between 30 and 50%. And a lot of those wanted to feel confident over the next 5 years. So what Sammy came up with is if we can show on paper that the company is growing, that has good growth rates, that we will get a high valuation and we'll own those shares so we can sell those shares at an inflated price. So how did they artificially show growth? Well, they just, I mean, this was really thought out. This was a years and years project because they basically started in 1980. They had $3 million skimmed off the top, and then they were decreasing it by a half a million over the next couple years. And then by 1984, they had eliminated that amount that they were skimming entirely. And of course, they paid the sales tax by at that point, so everything looked kosher. But basically, instead of showing like 5, 7%, like what the store is actually doing, now that they're not skimming as much, it's artificially making it look like they're growing very fast. So instead of like 6 or 7% growth, it's looking like 35% growth. So they're showing this, they now have a record each year showing these types of growth numbers. And sure enough, Eddie starts treating the growth like the number one thing to concentrate on and show the investors and shareholders that, yeah, we're still growing, and that will basically elevate the value of my shares. And of course, he got eventually caught. He was dumping his shares when the price elevated. So these are things to keep in mind. I mean, there's a lot. There's a couple other types of fraud in the book. I don't want to give everything away, but there's a lot of things to think about. There's a lot of people that do bad things. It brings up the thought that you need to think about who you're giving money to. What are the guarantees? How is the investment protected? Do I trust these people with my money? And you might end up thinking, do I trust it more putting in the stock or investing in my own skills? Because at the end of the day, all these companies are run by people. Sometimes people do bad things, and your money's at risk when you lend it to them. So hopefully you like this episode. I didn't really think I'd be talking about this, but I think it's worthwhile. And if you like this discussion, I will be discussing this book with my brother on the Brothers on Books podcast. So you could tune into that as well. Take care.